Welcome to our video on avoiding run-on sentences. This is really a continuation of our previous grammar refresher, which was about avoiding sentence fragments. You might want to check out that video first if you haven't already. In this refresher, we'll be revisiting some of the same essential concepts, but this time we'll be using those concepts to identify and correct run-on sentences. As you may recall, the most essential thing every sentence needs is at least one noun paired with at least one verb. They don't have to be written right next to each other, of course, but there must always be a noun, which is a person, place, or thing, and a verb describing what that person, place, or thing is doing. Whenever a noun and verb are paired in this way, it forms what's known as a clause. Often, a clause can stand alone as a complete sentence, and in that case, it's known as an independent clause. If we put a subordinating conjunction or relative pronoun at the beginning of it, then it becomes a dependent clause, as our video on fragments described. A single sentence might contain 2 or 3 or more clauses. In this example, a dependent clause has been attached to the predicate of an independent clause. A sentence might also join together multiple independent clauses with a word like and or but, as in this example. The Vikings won the game could be a complete sentence on its own, and Martha cheered could also be a complete sentence on its own. But we're certainly allowed to connect these independent clauses in a single sentence using the word and, which is another type of conjunction called a coordinating conjunction. The most often used coordinating conjunctions to keep in mind are and, but, or, and so. Here, we might alternately say the Vikings won the game, so Martha cheered. A run-on happens when a sentence has multiple independent clauses in it, but they're not linked by any conjunction. They're not necessarily long sentences. They may in fact be very short, like this example. Don't think of them as running on and on without pausing. Instead, think of them as one independent clause running into another without a conjunction between them. You might think the comma here serves to divide these clauses, and certainly it would be a more obvious run-on sentence without it, but the comma doesn't make this any less of a run-on. Since we have 2 independent clauses here, we can simply make each its own sentence ending in period. Or if that sounds too choppy, we might choose instead to add the coordinating conjunction and after the comma. Now it's a single grammatically correct sentence. There is a third possibility, but I urge caution with this one because it only works for certain types of sentences. We could replace the comma with a semicolon. Semicolons divide independent clauses just like periods. Be sure to never confuse them with commas. The only difference between a semicolon and a period is that a semicolon divides 2 closely related independent clauses. It should only be used when both independent clauses serve to complete the same thought. Some people don't use semicolons at all, because where a semicolon goes, a period could go instead. They're sometimes an option, and I like to use them when appropriate, but they're never a requirement. Here's another example of a run-on sentence. How might you fix it? I would connect the 2 clauses here with the coordinating conjunction but, along with a comma before it. You might also choose to make each clause its own sentence or divide them with a semicolon. It's that simple. Just be aware of what the clauses are in your sentence and make sure they're connected properly. That's all I wanted to cover in this brief overview. Best of luck in all your writing endeavors.